If you want financial freedom, time freedom, and want to leave a legacy for generations to come, you probably have heard real estate investing is the place to do that. How do you get started? What do you have to do? When's the right time? If you are looking for those answers, you've come to the right place. My name is Kyle Stanley, and this is Fearless Flipping. My mission is to help you learn this business and conquer real estate investing. Hey, welcome into this episode. I am humbled and excited to have David Osborn on this show. David is out of Austin, Texas, and if you haven't heard of him, you will definitely be hearing more about him. Recently, he was on a show with Grant Cardone, so I'm very humbled to even have him on my show, which is super awesome. But for me, David is going to be talking a lot more about leveling up in life. And yes, he is a real estate investor. He has over 100 different homes that cash flow over $50,000 per month. That's awesome. That is something I want to get to. And then he's also got a brokerage that is number 6 in the nation and does over $12 billion of sales with residential real estate every single year. David Osborn, he's the co-author of the Tribe of Millionaires, and he's also the co-founder of GoBundance, which is just a tribe of millionaires and billionaire dudes that are just growing it up and leveling up in life. Sorry, ladies, no ladies allowed, but he does have another one that is lady-driven, so you'll find out more about that in a second. But this guy is worth listening to, worth taking notes on. If you're listening to this on the podcast, make sure you review, 5-star us, subscribe, do all that. If you're on YouTube here, not only making sure to like and comment on our video, but go down to the link below with our show notes. If you're listening on the podcast, those show notes are fearlessflipping.com/tribe, TRIBE. That is going to be where you can find out more about his book, more about GoBundance, and recap all of this awesomeness that we're about to hear with David Osborn. Hey, David Osborn in from Austin, Texas. Thanks so much for being with us, David. You've got a couple things going for you. GoBundance, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. You've got your Tribe of Millionaires. That book was just released. Really excited to learn more about that. But I just want to give everyone a little bit of a picture of who you are before we kind of jump into this. But before we do, I do have a really quick question. I know I didn't prep you on this, so hopefully something comes to mind. Do you have like a real estate story that was crazy, or that was something that maybe just stands out for our listeners to be able to hear?
I have two, but the best one is purely economic. So it's a little numbers based. But so my very first bought as a rental was $77,000. I was showing a client, I was an agent. I said, "Do you want to buy this home?" She said, "No." It was my sister. So I said, "Great, I'm going to buy it." So I bought that home, $20,000 down, $77,000. I was going to just pay it off. I put it on a 15-year note, but 4 years later, I took a seminar at Money Matters, and this guy said, "Hey, you shouldn't pay off your homes. You should use positive leverage to acquire more assets." Once I understood the concept of positive leverage, I agreed with him. So I refinanced my home like 5 years later and took out 60 grand and bought 3 more homes. So I bought 4 total. The 3 homes are like 80, 80, and 65, right? So now I have 4 homes, 77, 80, 80, and 65. And I put them on 15-year notes too, because I wanted to pay them off. Again, I've changed my mindset on that, but I kept those as a little project, a little experiment. And I held those homes all the way until today. I still own them. So they're fully paid off now. Interestingly enough, I had trouble with one of them, so I had to replace it. But skipping all the boring details, those 4 homes now have an equity value of $600,000.
Wow.
They cash flow $4,000 a month gross, $2,800 a month net. And this is over a period. It was 95 that I bought the first one, but I lived in it for 2 years and then turned it into a rental in 97. So from 97 till 2009, 22 years, turning $20,000, not counting any of the cash flow from the properties because that would be too complicated, into $600,000 in equity, paying out almost 30-something thousand a year. That's the miracle of real estate, right? And what's beautiful about that is everyone can do it. Like anyone can do that. I bought homes in Lubbock. I got great appreciation in the one on Austin, so I got lucky there. But my 2 in Lubbock, now 3 in Lubbock, I had bought one in Midland, Odessa too. They're just still worth like 120. I bought them for 80. My one in Austin's was worth 77 today. It's worth 350. So that was my home run home. But just imagine like what is available to everyone with that simple story. Like I'm a C student. I ran the numbers on that to calculate the rate of return a few years ago, and it was like 17% annualized. So I turned 20,000, 17% annualized over 20 plus years into 600 grand.
Hey, show me a 401k or the stock market that will do that. That's amazing.
It is amazing. Thanks,
We're going to talk a little bit more about your success here in a second, but I want everyone to just kind of understand. So David, if you haven't heard of David, he has the 6th largest real estate brokerage in the entire nation, does over $12 billion of sales every single year. And you've built an incredible team, over 5,000 agents. I want to just go into that for a second. You know, in real estate investing, especially, sometimes we can feel like this is a solo project, that we are in this all alone, but here you are building an incredible team. And I just want to understand, you know, how did you get to that point, and how have you seen it, you know, really propel your success here since you've been in real estate?
Well, I got lucky is the first answer. I started off as a real estate agent in Austin, Texas. My dad was a soldier, a lifetime soldier. And then he retired. My mom got into real estate. So the reason I'm in real estate at Keller Williams is because my mom was a realtor. So that's the lucky part. By the way, if anyone has an aversion to the word lucky, they did a study on people that called themselves lucky and people that didn't call them, thought they were unlucky. And they had them go to a meeting. On their way to the meeting, they distributed all these $100 bills across the parking lot. The people that thought of themselves as lucky found significantly statistically more of the $100 bills than the people that thought of themselves as unlucky. So you'll hear me say that a lot. I'm owning lucky as an identity, and I'm going to keep calling myself lucky. So Keller Williams was growing at the time. There was 800 people when I joined, 5 people when my mother joined, 180,000 people today. So I went and opened franchises in a very fast growing company in Dallas, Texas, and became a broker owner through that process. I was lucky enough to have a future billionaire as my very first business mentor, Gary Keller. And Gary Keller, if you know him, was obsessed with training and learning. And so for me as a lousy C student in college, getting into business, getting into sales, and starting to see the value of learning, starting to see the value of picking up nuggets and applying them into your life, and the immediate impact of a better script, a better process, a better teaching, or a better learning has been the luckiest thing that ever happened to me. So I go up to Dallas. By the way, at that time, most of the franchisees were failing. People were losing their life savings on these things. So I started just opening franchises. I had no idea what I was doing. But the good thing is I had nothing to lose. I hadn't got a family. I didn't have kids. I didn't have obligations. I had an older kid, but that's a long story. And I didn't really have any significant financial obligations. So I just started opening franchises. I failed forward. I failed a bunch. But over doing it for 10 or 15 years, I slowly got better at it. I got more and more successful, and I built a bigger and bigger practice. I found out how to get into business with great people. The one thing about scale, that what scale has taught me, Kyle, is that I've learned to, one, be around amazing people and hire amazing people to come work for me and build incredible partnerships. And 2, I've realized I can't do it all. I can't do what needs to be done and live at the scale that I choose to live at. So if I'd been a single family flipper, like I see a lot of guys that are very talented, and they're the most talented person in their world at what they do. And so therefore they have a lot of people reporting to them. Let's call them underlings, not in a dismissive way, but people that work under them. And they are the master of the universe. Well, what that limits is their ability to scale beyond their own capability. By opening a franchise and having to hire a manager to run it, if there's one, you can get involved, but I own 15. It's impossible to fix and run 15 franchises. So I had to become a master of leverage through others. And I would say the scale, what it's taught me more than anything else, and I have multiple people working for me that make over $1 million a year. They're partners as well as employees. They're better than me at what they do. I just happen to have started it ahead of them. So I have the larger portion of equity in many cases. And I've learned you can work with amazing human beings, incredible human beings that are incredibly talented, way more talented than me specifically in the area that they operate. And that gets your world the ability to explode to a whole new level.
That's awesome. Well, so first of all, thanks for giving us that insight there, David. The follow-up question I have for you, you know, the name of our show is Fearless Flipping. So yes, one of the things that we want to talk about is always overcoming fear. And you mentioned something there that, you know, you started in your first franchise and you weren't good. You got better. You lost money. And now you're wildly successful. Can you talk about maybe it was a defining moment, maybe it was grit, maybe whatever that was that kind of helped you get through those learning curves in the beginning to not want to quit and pack up what you lost and now become where you're at today? Do you have anything
Yeah, of course. So first off, I think it should be courageous flipping. I love fearless, by the way. We all deal with fear, and it's never fearless, right? Like even there's a slight fear being on your podcast that I'll blow it. Not much of a fear, but used to be way bigger. When I stand in front of 1,000 people now, I have fear a little bit that I'm going to blow it. Less fear than I used to have speaking in front of 10 because you get more comfortable with fear. But courage is acting in spite of the fear. And my biggest fear used to be the fears, the actions I was taking. Today, my biggest fear is that I'm not thinking big enough, that I'm not taking enough risk. The risks I took used to scare me. Now my fear is I'm not taking enough risk because there's the possibility there are people out there with my same resources, capabilities, and abilities that are doing bigger things than me because they're taking bigger risks. And so my fear becomes that I'm not taking enough risk. So that was a shift over 20 years of business. I admire all your listeners. I admire you. Anyone that puts it out there and crosses that threshold of fear is in my mind a hero. They're on the hero's journey. So the hero sees the fear and takes action anyway. The non-hero sees the fear and it stops them from taking action. So transitional points in my career were multiple, but at one point in my life, after I'd opened like 2 franchises, so I opened one, I had to take over a second. I had a third one where the guy running it was threatening to beat up all the agents, so I had to take that one over. I had another one where one of the owners was dealing coke out of the office, so I had to take over that one. So suddenly I'm like 31 years old. I've got 4 offices, and I'm still of this mindset that I've got to do everything. So I'm literally recruiting, holding the managers accountable, building the cubicles, going and buying paper for the offices. And I'm working as hard as I can, as many hours as I can in a week. I mean, probably 80 hours a week. Some people can go to 100, 120, but whatever my constitution, I was maxing out, and no vacations. And I remember I started getting this rash across my chest, and I go to the doctor. I'm like, man, this is killing me. It's like painful. It's like raw, pussy rash. And the doctor says, man, you've got shingles, and shingles is a recurrence of chicken pox. And most people get it in their 50s. I don't know why you have it at 31 years old, but if you're not careful, it can kill you. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I thought I remembered hearing. So I almost had a breakdown. So I went to my partners and I said, hey, I'm out. I'm going to replace myself and quit because I'm going to die if I keep doing this job. And in the replacing of yourself, I also went to a couple seminars. I went to a Tony Robbins Date with Destiny. I went to some more esoteric seminars. I hired a therapist, and I spent about 6 months just working on myself and reconstituting myself, and at the same time looking for my replacement. Well, what happens when you're looking for your replacement? I stopped going to buy the paper. I stopped fixing the cubicles. I just started doing the highest level stuff. So I kept the high level stuff in order, like if you were going on vacation, and I blew off the lower stuff. In about 6 months, maybe 6 weeks was the intense part, but 6 months, I kind of reinvented my personality. I remember at a seminar I was at talking to a multimillionaire, where the richest guy I knew at the time, he's probably worth 50 million bucks. I said, what's your secret of success? He said, every day I write down the top 7 things I've got to do that day, and I do the top 3. Now, before that, I just did things in the order they come up. So if it was to do my laundry or to return a phone call to an insurance guy that was pestering me, or pay my bills, or recruit a mega agent or a top leader, I would do them in order. I didn't have a real good sense of prioritization. After the pain of this breakdown, after the shingles, after this wisdom from this multimillionaire, and after the seminars I went to, I came back and I re-identified myself. And my new identity was, I'm only going to do the most important thing, and the rest of it can be damned or darned. I'm sorry. So I literally stopped paying my bills, stopped cleaning my house, stopped all this stuff. I had other problems that came from this. One day I'm sitting in my office at home working, and all the power goes off. Found out I hadn't paid my electricity bill. I stopped balancing my checkbook, and I started just doing the most important things, which for me then was recruiting talent, right? So I started just recruiting. That's all I did. And a miracle happened. One is I started getting better results. 2 is I started having much more fun. So that was the 2 miracles. So I went to all my partners. I said, I found my replacement. It's me. One of my partners at the time said, it's like you were Clark Kent, you were a goofy, confused kid, and you went into the phone booth and you came out Superman. Now that's a very generous and kind and encouraging thing for him to have said to me.
I can see that with those glasses.
I think I used to look like Harry Potter, but that was before Harry Potter was cool. When I was at school, I had the military issue big black glasses because my dad was a soldier. But anyway, once I did that, I had more fun, got better results, became kind of a different person. Then I had to learn how to delegate all that other stuff, like paying my bills. So I hired a bill payer, cleaning my house. I hired a maid. Stuff that's really not that expensive. It sounds silly. It takes a while to get comfortable delegating all the stuff you don't like to do. But now my wife laughs at me because I'm like a master delegator. My house is like a train station. People are coming in all the time and taking care of stuff. And I just do what I love to do, which is now three things: recruit talent, never goes away; recruit opportunities for my talent, because people will only stay with you if your economic vision is big enough for them to win in. And then the third thing is create vision. So I'm constantly working on where I want to go and what I want my life to look like. So that was like the breakdown story of my life that was very painful. I'm just kind of glossing over what the pain felt like. Was intense, of feeling like a failure and feeling like I was not doing good enough and feeling like there was no way out, like I couldn't work any harder. I had nothing left to give and still not succeeding, to learning that if you just do the important stuff, everything else can fall by the wayside and nobody cares. Other than, if you're sitting in the dark of your house trying to do work, it's really hard when there's no electricity.
Hey, Fearless Flipping community, we are taking a quick break from the podcast to talk about Airbnb. For those of you that don't know, I have built much of my residual income around Airbnb, despite a lot of other investors being really excited about long-term renters. I was not. I saw an opportunity with Airbnb to get to my goals faster, to get more cash flow, and to pay off my houses quicker too. So instead of being really happy like a lot of other investors are with $200 to $300 of cash flow every single month, I've turned my renters and rentals into over $1,000 on average of cash flow every single month. So if you want to learn more about Airbnb, my systems, where I pick my Airbnbs, how I communicate with guests, maybe you've already got Airbnb as a business on the side right now, but you want to take it to the next level, I am absolutely here to help you. You can book a free consultation with me about Airbnb. Learn more by booking at fearlessflipping.com/consultation, and you get me for 30 minutes for free. That's right, 30 minutes absolutely free. That's once again, fearlessflipping.com/consultation, and I'm looking forward to helping you conquer Airbnb investing. I don't know if you can read this quote behind me, but it says, pain will push you until vision pulls you. And what you just said there, I mean, that's a motto that I live my life by. But what you just said there, which really resonated with me, was that you had these struggles. You went through these things where literally it was like, hey, you had to go to the hospital because you had shingles, and someone had to sit you down and say, you need to start changing your life or else your health is going to take over. And now you're at a point in your life where it's not that pain that is pushing you out of these tasks that you were doing, but it's now the vision that's pulling you and keeping you on track to not go back to all those little minutia type of things that I call more of the reactive tasks rather than the proactive tasks. And that's something, man, that's something that I struggle with. I'm sure anyone listening right now has got to be struggling with that. Those things come up where it's like, it's that bill that you got to pay. It's the, email that you get where it's just like, man, I gotta focus on this. Do you have any advice for us on just how to let go of control of that, or to let go of the importance of that and to focus on other things?
Write down the 7 or 10 most important things you got to do each day. Give them a priority A, B, C, and just do the A's. Write down what you do on a daily basis, and then give it a value on how much you like it, A, B's, and C's, and then just do the A's. Delegate the B's and the C's. And yes, it's very hard, and people have a lot of controlling issues. And by the way, I read your quote like 3 times. I love your quote. I was trying to remember who Michael Beckwith is, but you don't have to tell me now. But that could be one of the mantras of my life, is that pain pushed me. The reason I kept growing was my ambition exceeded my capability. My ambition, that's my dog whining at the back door. My ambition exceeded my capability for getting done what I wanted to get done. And so in order for me to get to where I wanted to be, I had to go through the breakdown to have a breakthrough. And so to your listeners, it's not easy. It's not easy letting go of control. I used to be the bottleneck in my world. One day I just realized, I said to a friend, where's that loan application? And my assistant's like, it's been on your desk for like 3 months or 2 months or 6 weeks, whatever it was. I'm like, wow, look at all this stuff that I'm needing control of, that I'm not delegating, that's just stopping on my desk because I've got too much going on. Mm-hmm. And so I had to learn to let go. I've had to learn, I encourage therapy. I encourage business seminars. I encourage Tony Robbins stuff. But your life is a direct reflection of the skills and capabilities you have right now. And the only way to get to the next level is to acquire new capabilities and new capacities. And the number one capacity for elevation is letting go of the stuff that's holding you down. So if you want to elevate your life, let go of the junk that you could pay anyone else to do, fixing your car, mowing your yard, cleaning, unless you love it, unless you find it a meditative therapeutic thing, which some people do, mowing their yard or fixing their car. Just ask yourself, am I just trying to save $50 when I could be spending that time making my next million? The advice is that people have lived before and they have extraordinary lives, and they do it by delegating through other people.
That's so good. And, I've once heard from another successful entrepreneur, you got to define what your hour looks like in terms of a wage. What are you paying yourself per hour? And if you're worth $100 per hour and you're doing tasks that are only saving you $20 and it takes an hour, then you're now giving yourself a pay decrease by focusing on those things. And that's a whole other mindset shift. So, well, that's awesome, man. So, I mean, I got to make a little transition here, because I think all the things that we're talking about don't happen unless you're surrounding yourself with other people that are encouraging this kind of mindset of taking your life to the next level. And you've done that. Not only have you done it, you've co-written a book about it with the Tribe of Millionaires, and you're also one of the founders of GoBundance. Can you talk about both of those things? And really, if our listeners and viewers are going to tap into those resources, what is the underlying things behind those?
One of the strongest influences in my life has been the people that I have hung out with. In fact, I would say the influence that Pat Hyben and Tim Rode and Mike McCarthy, my peer partners, have had on me has been second to maybe the coaching of Gary Keller, the most impactful thing. Like the people that I hang out with on a regular basis. I think Warren Buffett said, you are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Somebody did. I don't know. We just give Warren Buffett credit because he's easy to give credit.
Exactly.
So what happened to me is 20 years ago in my career, can you let the dog in real quick? 20 years ago in my career, I went to a seminar by a guy called Fred Gross. And Fred Gross said, look across the room and pick out somebody in this room who's going to become your peer partner. And I looked across the room, and there was this guy there, Pat Hyben, and he waved at me and I waved at him, and we nodded like the guy nod, and he became my peer partner. And for 20 years, Fred Gross taught us the system. He said, you are now each other's coaches, and your compensation is coaching in return. So that's how you're paying each other. And we would email each other what our goals were for the year, for the month, for the quarter, and we would hold each other accountable. And for 20 years, that accountability helped me become a stronger man, become a more productive and accountable man, to be a man that walks my talk instead of just talking the talk. Because Pat would literally send me an email. He'd send me an email if I hadn't contacted him in, say, a month, and say, hey, are you just another one of those fly-by-night people that talk the talk but don't walk the walk? Are you just going to be a flake, or are you going to be a man of substance? And of course, by the law of reciprocity, I got to ding him back whenever he was falling by the wayside, if you will. And that years and years of pulling the best out of one another. We're both financially free. Tim Rode is financially free. Mike McCarthy's financially free, all through real estate. And we have great relationships with our wives, great relationships with our kids. We do amazing physical adventures together. I'm in better physical shape now at 52 than I was at 30, because I wasn't an athlete, so I didn't have the whole health thing down, but Tim brought me into health. Now I work out religiously. And all of this is because of the influence of the people that we hang out with. So we've been coaching and holding each other accountable for years and going to seminars together. And then we started doing adventure travel together. So we did the Camino de Santiago for 5 days. We did the Tomatina fight. We went to all these different places, Norway. And then around 2011, we're like, look, we've heard every story any one of us has to say. Let's open this up. So we opened it up. 11 friends came the first year, 26 friends the next year, 45 folks the next year, 100 folks the third year. Now we're up to 200 people in like 5 years.
Wow.
And it's called GoBundance is the tribe. But the book that describes it all is called Tribe of Millionaires. And your listeners can pick it up for free at tribeofmillionaires.com. Just got to pay shipping and handling. And it's really the story of how a group of entrepreneurs achieve financial freedom, a balanced life, fun, adventure, influencing one another to the positive on a perpetual and ongoing basis.
That's so awesome. And so you talked about influence a lot. I know you've got 6 different effects. Is that kind of the influence effect that you were just mentioning there?
Well, the influence effect is that one. You pick that up through osmosis, but I also touched on the accountability effect. So Pat held me accountable. Tim held me accountable. We stopped going to seminars, and I still go to seminars, but we stopped as a group and we started meeting and having like masterminds. And in those masterminds, a big one annually, quarterly little ones, we would go through, what were your goals? What did you say you were going to do? What did you get done? Where are you on the area of health? What's your body fat? What's your systolic, diastolic? What's your relationship like with your wife on a 1 to 10? How are you doing spending time with your kids? So we just kind of added accountability on a massive level, which is what we do inside the tribe. The multiplier effect is this idea that like when you're around the right people, your life will grow. In other words, if you're like around a bunch of guys that work at the state, the odds are you're going to work at the state. That's just human nature. If you're around, by the way, if you're around a bunch of people that eat human beings that are cannibals, the odds are you're probably going to eat a human being or two. And if you're around a bunch of people that are financially free, or at least are challenging the world each day by fearlessly flipping or using courage to go after things that scare them, that will be your normal also. So we created a tribe where the people that are around you will affect you. The next piece awesome. Is, the authenticity effect. Like Pat and I would literally share tax returns. Tim, Pat, and I and Mike would show each other our tax returns to show that we were being authentic. There's too much BS in life. One of the things that trips people up, not everybody, but some people, is they always talk about how great they're going to be, how great it's going to be. And they always live in this fantasy instead of the reality. The only way you can build reality is sometimes just slapping yourself in the face and being real about where you are, because then you're honest. And with honesty, you can tear down what's not working and build into what's working. So we believe in authenticity, which is one of the reasons our tribe is men only. We do have a women's tribe. So the women's tribe is woman only, is because men, if you put a pretty woman in a group of men, not all of them, but if there are some people that are inauthentic no matter what, but you put a pretty woman around, most of them are going to be like, hey, my life's awesome and I'm awesome. What do you think of me? Like that's what men do. So we made it guys
perfect.
Only just for authentic. Yeah, exactly. I got no problems. So that's what we did to make sure we wouldn't have that dishonesty that shows up when people try to show up. So that's kind of 4 of the influences.
That's awesome.
There are a couple more. Yeah, it's fun stuff. It's a fun tribe. We change lives. We've had people lose 60 pounds of weight. We've had people go from 0 passive income to 160,000 a year in passive income. We've had people that weren't spending time with their family and kids because then they were justifying it by working, who go home and play with their kids on a regular basis, put their phone down. It's amazing how much it's built around financial freedom and a lot of learnings and lessons in there, but it's amazing how enriching the other components are. For me specifically, being a better dad and a better husband, I've gotten so much out of different guys in the tribe, different ideas, different ways of being, that has really enriched my personal world. And I'm forever grateful for that. So it's just a brotherhood where men sharpen men.
That's awesome. I mean, you only hit a little bit of a surface level. So right now I'm going to just let everyone go down to our show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, click on the link down below. You'll get directed to that book and also to Go Abundant. Sorry, that's tough for me to
no worries.
Take out that A. So
you're not the only one.
Yeah, I'm sure. But in this next episode, when you guys are checking in later this week, David and I are going to talk about the 4 ways to reprogram your life. And that is something that I'm really excited for my listeners about, because once again, if we've got all this fear, I talk to people every day who have this fear. What if this happens? What if that happens? And of course, we got to reprogram our minds, reprogram ourselves before we can ever conquer fear and conquer real estate investing. So I'm going to tease to that next episode, but for the Go Abundance and also for the Tribe of Millionaires, anything else that you want people to know, that when they click on that link for the show notes, what they can expect to see?
Yeah, you'll get the free copy of the book, and then you can decide, where you want to go. We're trying to build a tribe of members where living an awesome life is normal.
Absolutely.
It's an exceptional tribe for exceptional living.
That's great. Well, hey, I want to be one of the Tribe of Millionaires. I want to be part of Go Abundance. Who wouldn't want to spend time with a guy like you, David, and a bunch of other millionaires/billionaires or people with millionaire and billionaire mindsets? So, hey, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you for helping our audience to conquer real estate investing, conquer their own lives. And we will see you again later this week.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kyle.
All right, one more time, check it out. Go Abundance and also Tribe of Millionaires. You're going to click down on the show notes below if you are on YouTube. If you're on the podcast, you're going to go to fearlessflipping.com/tribe, where you can check out that book, check out his group. And I hope you just got a lot of value out of this today in regards to leveling up in life. It's really, for me, what I heard in David's story is that pain that pushed him in order for the vision to start pulling him. And you'll hear in this next episode, and you'll see in this next episode how David is taking those 4 ways to be able to really like change your identity and become a whole new person, changing your blueprint on so many different things in your life so that you can start to level up and conquer real estate investing. So make sure you tune into that next one later this week. We will see you then.